Welcome to the Diversity Pivot Podcast. I'm your host, Julie Kratz, and this season we will be unpacking real trends, hot topics in the workplace around allyship and inclusion. Our goal is that each week you leave with tangible tools, information, practical strategies that you can take back to allies at your organization. Let's dig in to this week's topic. Hey, listeners, welcome back. We have Aubree White with us this week, who is a passionate gamer and coach who has led the Bob Jones High School Rocket League team to a victory in 2019, 2020, and the 2021 PlayVS Alabama State Championships. She is an outspoken advocate in driving diversity in esports, encouraging more women to get involved, and has seen firsthand how gaming can help drive a more inclusive, community-based high school experience. Aubree, welcome to the show.
Hi, it's so great to be here. I
Yeah.
do wanna update that championship record.
Oh, yeah.
We've won a few more. So we've won also in fall and spring of 2022, fall and spring of 2023, and now spring of 2024.
Wow, quite a trend you've
It's
set
pretty
here.
great. It's pretty great.
That's awesome. Well, let's start there. How have you been able to achieve so much success in the last several years?
Um, that's a great question. I honestly I don't want to take any credit for how the kids play. They're so good at what they do. Um so I guess just us being able to achieve what we've achieved, I got to give it to the players. Just everything that they work for. Previous players that have already graduated and moved on to collegiate and gaming, they have just kind of like set that tone when they were there. And they've kind of instilled that, like, hey, we're good at what we do. We want the people that come after us to be good at what we do. And they um the players that, like I said, have graduated and moved on, they're really good about coming back and working with the current players, trying to find talent as early as possible and just work with them. um and so they've just kind of built this community where they all just want to push for success, and they work really hard for it. So um yeah, that's what I would attribute it to, is just how well they work together, even if they've already graduated and moved on.
Wow.
It's just how much they love it, and they practice, and we're going to as many tournaments as possible. Just being involved to give themselves the challenges that they need
Yeah.
to keep
I
that skill level up.
I
Um,
remember when I was in college and I didn't play sports, so I studied business. And I remember one of my professors saying, this was 20 years ago, he said, you know what is a very common background of Fortune 500 female C-suite leaders? And at the time, yeah, it was dismal, which is not much better now. But having said that, he said that they played sports and they played a team sport, specifically a competitive team sport. And I'm just wondering, Aubree, what do you think the transferable lessons and skills are from sports to the real world that, especially for historically marginalized people and women and, folks that have had it more adversity in their lives? What do you think the secret is about sports?
Sports, it does so much more than people think, as far as learning how to communicate with one another in high stress moments, learning how to communicate and set up effective practices, set up effective game days, effective routines. So the communication there, and just the collaboration with working with people that you may not have known before you joined that team. So meeting new people, building relationships with those new people, and learning how to work together towards the same goal, even if you all have completely different play styles or completely different communication styles. Just like putting all of those differences together to work towards the same goal, which is success and your competition. um I think it instills like a really great work ethic. um I know, especially in gaming, I don't know, like, when if I've turned it to gaming, a lot of people are like, oh, you just play game time, and that's not all the time true. I've had a lot of parents that are super thankful for our esports program, because now they're their players, their children have a purpose for when they're playing these games. They're not just playing to play, like they have a purpose for it, which could, transfer to all sports. If you're just playing backyard football or playing, basketball in the park, like you're there when you join a team, you're there for a purpose and you're all there with the same purpose. Um, and so I just feel like there's so many transferable um, skills that you learn playing sports and being part of a team and working with people that, without that commonality of like, while we're here, you probably wouldn't have talked to those people to begin with.
Yeah.
There's,
Yeah.
I just think there's a lot. I could probably talk for
Well, and
10 years
I'm
about
just
it, but
wondering
like
too.
sports is great. Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder too, like the lessons you learn with confidence, like I said, teamwork,
Right.
collaboration, purpose, all those are fundamentals of a healthy team and learning how to be a leader early in your
Hmm.
life because it's such a nebulous concept to understand. I wonder specifically for girls and women, what are some of the challenges, still barriers that women are facing in sports today?
In sports or just esports?
In sports in general.
Um, I think sports in general, um, I don't know. I just females are always when it comes to competition, I feel like females are kind of just brushed off and not taken as seriously as they should be. Um, you know, the women's college basketball playoffs this year, I think was um a big move for females in sports because everybody saw the talent in the girls that were playing this season. And, more people tuned in to female finals than they did the male finals. And so just taking them seriously and seeing that they are professionals, seeing that they are good at what they do is kind of a challenge. Sometimes, I think people just brush off females way too much in sports in general. So yeah, just
Yeah.
like not taking them seriously, not expecting them to know um, the game as well as they actually do. I just feel like sometimes the male counterparts are kind of like they expect that they know the game better, or they know the plays better, they know how to work to get perfect skills in a certain area, and sometimes females just aren't. I guess just overall they're not taken as seriously as they should be for the
Yeah.
same amount of work, if not more work, put in to be taken seriously and to be respected in the skills that they have and the work that they do.
Yeah. Yeah, it's that underestimation, right?
Yeah,
Of,
yeah.
oh, I'm surprised by how good you are. Wow,
It's
you really know
always a
how to play this.
surprise.
Yeah. It's like you really
It's
know how to play the sport that you've been playing for several years, where we wouldn't make that same questioning of a male athlete.
right.
And it just weathers. I think sometimes people think, well, I'm giving them a compliment. Wow, she's so good. But the surprise piece is what
Hmm.
makes her feel like, well, I'm just doing something that is expected, right? And so it kind of lowers the bar, the mentality for somebody to even doubt themselves more than they should.
Hmm.
I'm curious, Aubrey, too, like microaggressions were something we talk about a lot in the workplace, with diversity and inclusion, kind of these subtle little signs of exclusion or non-inclusion. What do you think as far as women in esports and sports in general, are those microaggressions that still, face from a gendered lens? And you gave some examples, about being underestimated, not being believed in as much. But what are some of the day-to-day challenges that you still see for women in sports?
I think females in gaming, probably the biggest microaggression is just how many questions are asked. Um,
Mm,
and whether it doesn't matter what game they're playing, how they're playing it, what console they're playing on, if it's PC, like if there is a female playing the game, that person is going to receive way more questions than somebody that's not a female. Um, it just and it's kind of like just a they're doing it just to test how much they know.
yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
when I first started teaching, like I mean, I don't keep it a secret that I play games. I've enjoyed games my entire life. It's one of my favorite hobbies. When I do get some free time, like I want to sit down and relax and play a game that I enjoy. So I don't keep that a secret. And so when I first started teaching, when I meet my students for the first time, I teach high school. Um, And so when I meet my students for the first time at the beginning of a semester, sometimes it's one of the things that I talk about. Like, they needed to get to know their teacher. So if I'm telling them like my hobbies, and then the moment students find out, and this could also be an age thing, I guess, too. But the moment students find out that I play games, they have so many questions. They want to know, like, depending on the game, like, okay, well, what gun do you use, or what character do you go, or what do you? Okay, well, then tell me the best weapon in this situation. Like, just a bunch of just nitpicky questions that, if I was a male teacher saying that I played games, they would want to know way less. They would just be like, "Oh, cool,
Hmm.
he's so awesome," and the respect would already be there. Um, so I think like microaggressions, that would be the biggest one. Is just how many questions
Yeah.
um
Yeah, and the
females
questions
that
are,
game.
again, they're like either testing or
Yeah,
curious about things you wouldn't be curious if you flipped the gender
right.
identity. Yeah, it's kind of interesting. In the workplace, we talk about it like interruptions, people taking
Mhm.
credit for our ideas, being undermined, being overly questioned, the surprise
Mhm.
factor. It's just kind of all this mental space it occupies rather than playing the game itself.
Mhm.
And that in lies the challenge because folks in the dominant group don't have that same mental Olympics you kind of have to go
Right.
through to stay
Yeah.
focused.
I guess the like a second one that I would think of, and this one, I mean, it fights hard for first place microaggression too, is just like the unnecessary flirting, I guess I would say.
Oh, yeah.
I'm trying to think of like a better word for it because I don't think flirting is the best word there. But I'm sure other females that game feel the same way. But I mean, I remember growing up and like let's see here, Call of Duty Black Ops came out and I loved it. I thought it was fantastic. I played with my brother all the time, played with my friends from school all the time. And the moment a female enters the lobby, it's just like I mean, like they don't know what to do. They don't know how to act. And it becomes who's gonna win the girl instead of like just there to play the game. Just like they are. Like I mean, everybody's there just to play the game, but the moment a female enters the lobby, it's who's gonna flirt the best, who's gonna get her to laugh, who's gonna they immediately want to know because I mean it's fair, I mean it's super online based. So they want to know like, oh, are you pretty? Oh, are you hot?
Yes.
Are you a hot gamer girl? And it's like,
Oh
people just want to
gosh.
play. People just want to play. And I think for all sports, females get that as well,
Right.
um, even professional athletes, like they're judged on how they dress and they're judged on everything about appearance and how they look versus sometimes
The
just like
task.
how good are you? Why are you here? I'm here to play a game, no matter the
Right.
sport. So like that just being judged like on that aspect. So yeah, the questions and then definitely just the unnecessary like romantic harassment that females get.
Distractions.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Lots of distractions. And I mean, if you're focused on somebody flirting with you or having to put on off an unwanted advance,
Mhm.
that's again mental work that you're having to do that isn't focused on the game at hand.
Right. And that just discourages so many females that do enjoy gaming from doing it. They kind of just back out because that's the common experience.
I don't have to
And
deal with
it
all
sometimes
that.
it becomes more of a like annoyance and task on top of, just playing a game and getting good at it. Um so sometimes I mean a lot of females are just like, I'm tapping out. I tried.
Yep.
This is annoying.
Yep.
I have better things to do with my time than, you know, I don't know, just
Deal with
for
inappropriate
somebody
behavior.
yeah, like deal with way inappropriate behavior and push for somebody to take you seriously.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, if you had one wish for female gamers and the industry as a whole, what would you hope we could do to be more inclusive for women?
um, oh man, if I had one wish, I have so many wishes.
You can have
Um,
multiple wishes if you'd like.
I, well, I don't know. I just feel like just to make it can you repeat the question? I'm sorry.
What would you wish for sports to be more inclusive gaming for women?
For gaming to be more inclusive for women. I definitely wish that there was a way, um, let's see here. Okay, I would start here. Just like maybe if games could do a better job of like creating just effective ways of reporting, and addressing like abusive behavior, um, towards females in game. Because you can report somebody for, just being idiots or um, being aggressive in the voice chat. But there's not really a specific one that you could report somebody for being, like,
Accountability. Yeah.
yeah, just like having more accountability for, because I feel like just game organizations aren't going to take a report that is somebody chatting and asking if somebody looks good, or do you have a boyfriend, or oh, I love you, you're going to be my wife. Just like comments like that that are completely unnecessary.
Hmm.
They would probably be like, oh, well, that's not hurtful. I feel like some gaming organizations that do really well when bad behavior is reported, but have that aspect taken a little bit more seriously. Just to create just better, I don't know, just better systems for reporting, would be a great one. And then just in general, like my biggest wish is just the cultural shift, that we need for females in gaming. Just those deeply ingrained cultural norms that gaming is for boys, um,
Hmm.
or that gaming is for guys. And um, because I feel like if that, and I feel like the generations that are coming up, they're way less intense, than I think past generations have been in the gaming world. I think, offering esports in a high school setting is doing a big help towards that. Um, just like making it normal for you to be involved in a sport or in a program at school that
Absolutely.
has, yeah, like that has, just everybody involved, both, boys and girls, and creating that environment where everybody is welcome there. We're all excited to be there. We're all supportive of one another. Um, So just like my biggest wish is that the cultural shift would just happen overnight. And it
Right.
wouldn't take the work that it's gonna take.
Yeah, that's going to take some time, isn't it? And I think that's
Yeah.
the balance for young generations. They want change now.
Hmm.
And you and I that have been around and experienced it and realize it's better than it was 20 years ago, it doesn't make it okay,
Right.
but it does make it better.
Right.
I wonder what needs to shift in our culture to see that change more quickly. And for
Yeah.
me, it's gender bias at the core, how we socialize young girls to be pleasing, to not take risks. We teach boys to be brave and outspoken, and that manifests in behavior in all aspects, sports, gaming,
Hmm.
education. And we know some environments are very conducive to that gender inclusion, and other environments like gaming, maybe not so much. So some of this kind of outdated bias and stereotypes we need to let go of. But that change takes time.
Right. Right. And I try to, as their coach, I try to catch them, when they make a comment, or catch them when they react a certain way, that they shouldn't. I've had to deal with, players that are in a game, and one of our opponents is a girl, and the moment I see them making comments about like just the fact that a female's in the lobby, like I have to correct them the moment it happens.
Hmm.
Um, and it kind of it's nice to be kind of like their coach as a female in gaming. Because sometimes like the first thing I would ask is like, would you ask me that question if I was in the lobby with you?
Hmm.
Because they do have that respect for me as a coach. But I just need to kind of teach them to carry that on, and have that respect for all players in a lobby, um, no matter the gender. So just catching those moments. We've even had, I remember, and a lot of times, kids don't see it. You know, people of all ages don't see sometimes when they make mistakes that aren't really the greatest. I remember at a tryout once, we had a female show up, for Super Smash Brothers, which is a Nintendo title game, um, and we already had another female in that sport or that game title. And then this female showed up and she was younger and um so I will like it made me happy that there wasn't a big reaction when a female showed up to tryouts. So that made me happy. But then when they saw how good she was,
Hmm.
and how much she was winning, then it became, well, I want to play her next. I want to play her
Yeah,
next. Just so they could beat her. They all wanted a chance to play her just to see who could beat her and prove that she wasn't the best in the room.
yeah,
And that's not, so we have to have conversations in those moments. Like your intentions are you want to be the best in the room, but if it was, one of your male teammates that was, whooping everybody and beating everybody, you wouldn't be so eager to pick up the
no,
controller to say like let me have a chance at him. Um, so just wanting to be that dominant person in the room, especially when a female is proving to be the dominant person in the room.
hmm,
Just, catching them in moments like that and saying like, hey, like, let's think about why we're acting this way. Like what was the point there? What was the goal?
yep,
Um, so
yeah,
just small things like that, but being able to catch it, and my program hit about 100 players this season. And so just knowing that like I can help have those conversations and it not be like an attack fest,
yes,
like not an
hmm,
attack fest. Just we can have some conversations, figure out why are we responding this way? Is it okay to respond this way? If the roles were reversed, would you be okay with somebody responding this way? Um, and it makes me happy knowing that I can do that in a high school setting. Um, even
or
if
that you're
it's just
modeling
for
that for girls to learn how to do that
yeah,
for
yeah.
themselves. Like, how do you advocate
Exactly.
for
Like letting them
yourself?
know, like you can speak up and tell them, like, I'm not okay with that. You're not gonna ask me that question. You're not gonna
Hmm.
um just want to beat me because I'm a female. So
Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah, it
and
reminds me of
oh,
what's
go ahead.
happening with Caitlin Clark right now in sports.
Right.
Just how many men are like, I could beat her. It's like, what? You would
Right.
never say that about like Steph Curry or like someone
Exactly.
else. Like, you don't know that just
Yeah.
because
I think
she's,
it's just that push, like the moment that a female's really good at something, the counterpart just wants to step up and be like, well, I can do it better.
yeah, yeah, it's that alpha mentality that
1000%. Yeah.
yeah, just because she's a female. Yeah. And it's just that, and again, it's like that unnecessary mental work that a woman has to do to prove herself
Hmm.
not just once, but continuously prove yourself because you don't fit the model of what good has looked like historically.
Right.
Interesting. Well, Aubrey, this has been so fun to chat with you about the challenges and the pivots that need to happen to be more inclusive in gaming, and the broader sports industry. I'm curious, Aubrey, like if you, as you think about the future and what you see from younger generations, why should we all have hope in, the richness of diversity and inclusion in our industries?
I would say that we can definitely have hope, especially in the gaming industry, just because we see this so much in high school. Like esports and gaming is for everyone. Um, there's not a moment where I turn somebody away, just because of anything. Like esports and gaming is for everyone. Doesn't matter who you are, what gender you are, what capabilities you have, what background you come from, like what your home life is like. Like esports and gaming is for everyone. And it's so awesome to be able to create that kind of community in a high school where, again, like we have players that play multiple sports. So we have like the mainstream athletes that are also playing esports, but then you have people that are playing games that have never played a sport in their entire life. And we're bringing them into one space and creating a community that really does accept everyone and support everyone and encourage everyone, and build everyone. Excuse me, sorry.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, absolutely.
so I
So,
that gives me hope just knowing that like I'm seeing in real time every day, um, like such an inclusive community in a high school. And high school is already so tough sometimes. So just knowing that like in the hallways, differences might stand out, in the classroom, differences might stand out, in the parking lot, like differences might stand out. But in that esports and gaming program, like everybody's on the same floor,
mhm. Yeah,
and
yeah, we
it's
should
such an equal
level the
playing
playing
field.
field. Yep, level the
Yeah.
playing field where we can, and sports and gaming is one of those areas.
Hmm.
That's awesome, Aubrey. Thanks so much for being on the Diversity Pivot podcast. So thankful for the work that you do.
Thanks. It's been great. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for listening to the Diversity Pivot podcast. My hope is that you walked away with a tangible tool, insight, or information that you can share with other allies on the journey. If you liked this week's episode, please leave us a review. Your feedback means a tremendous amount to us. We'll be back next week with another hot topic.